our a poor Grand Prix F1 driver ratings.
This video is sponsored by the wonderful people over at Squarespace, the all-in-one website platform for entrepreneurs to stand out and succeed online. Now, of course, we've got Singapore, which is essentially just another batch of Monaco Grand Prix F1 driver ratings. We're going to have a lot of factors to take into account that perhaps isn't just gaps, because, well, it's impossible to overtake around here. How are you feeling, Tommy?
I'm good. Yeah, a lot of factors to take on board, but of course, everyone will agree and be respectful, so it's fine.
We love it. We love it, love it, love it. And everyone definitely listens. Now, before we get into it, please subscribe. We are so close to 500,000 subscribers, I can't even tell you, okay? Like, it is so close. We want to hit it so that we can just, you know what I mean? Just tick it off, and then we can be very happy. It's free. You literally just press the subscribe button, okay? Right now, please. Just do it. Join the fam. Join the fam right now. Tommy, have you joined the fam?
Yes, always, of course. All my burner accounts that I use
to
slate
might
your
have to make
drive
some
ratings
accounts
and stuff, yeah.
Oh, it was you all along. Okay.
I'm the show fan. Yeah.
Right, let's get into driver ratings and start with Kevin Magnussen. Started 14th, did not finish. K-Mag. You promised to FS up. I mean, you did kind of FS up by getting a puncture. It's a 4 out of 10. I'm not being horrendously harsh on him because, well, he was banned. There might have been a slight bit of rust that formed on him after one race of being off. No, I'm kidding. It was a very meh performance from K-Mag. Qualified nowhere near Hulkenberg. Touched the wall, got a puncture. It was slightly unlucky. It was a bit of a bang, don't get me wrong. But it wasn't like an insane mistake. Yeah, then after that, DNF'd. So it's a 4 from me.
I've gone for a 3. I think it's very disappointing with his qualifying to come back and not be anywhere near Hulkenberg after we saw how Behrman did against Hulkenberg. I genuinely was on the hype train of this being a good K-Mag track. He's done really well here in the past. He's delivered some great qualifying laps. So disappointing to see how far he was behind Hulkenberg in qualifying. And then he's one of the only drivers to actually, well, he is the only driver that's made an error to put him out the race.
The fans gave him a 5. Interesting. Let's quickly chat about our sponsor for this video, Squarespace, a place where you can build a website with absolutely no coding knowledge required. With Fluid Engine, a next-generation website design system from Squarespace, it's never been easier for anyone to unlock unbreakable creativity. Start with a best-in-class website template and customize every design detail with reimagined drag-and-drop technology for desktop or mobile. What's better too is that you can create one for free and only start paying once you decide to go ahead and publish your website. So what are you waiting for? Head to squarespace.com/P1 to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain using the code P1. Nico Hulkenberg started 6th, finished 9th.
I have gone for a 9 out of 10. Great drive from him. We've seen, it before where he qualifies exceptionally well, which he did again. And as is Formula A and Formula B, he was always going to drop back somewhat. But it's a 9 from me because it's a great drive to bag some more points for Haas when not many drivers, well, only a couple retired, but arguably ones that wouldn't have been ahead of him anyway. So very, very good job from Nico Hulkenberg.
I have also gone for a 9 out of 10. I was actually deliberating a 10, but I think Haas actually let him down slightly with being undercut by Alonso and didn't finish 8th because of it. But it's still a very, very strong drive from Hulkenberg. I mean, he got up to P5 at the start. Of course, Oscar then dive-bombed him because he had to, and it was a good move. But after that, he was just very, very solid indeed. He was kind of in the pack of Alonso himself, Perez. And yeah, it was just a really strong drive. And the fans gave him a 9 as well. Zhou Guanyu started 20th, finished 15th. It's going to be a whopping 6 out of 10 for Zhou Guanyu. Yeah, boom. Not straight down the middle. Not a 7, though, but a 6. Zhou beats his teammate, gets past Bottas, who I think had some brake problems, but still got past Bottas. And funnily enough, with all of the Zhou comments from previous driver ratings, due to the fact there had been so many, and then we started to joke about it, I now watch Zhou's race more than most other drivers in the entire Grand Prix. I'm always keeping an eye, seeing what the gaps are throughout the race, what his pit stops are, and look, Sauber are horrendous in terms of pace, but they worked together. Zhou ahead did the Carlos, keeping Valtteri in his DRS zone to then keep Pierre behind Valtteri. Oh my God, what team play to secure P15.
I'll go for a 6 out of 10 as well for Zhou Guanyu. It was as expected from that dustbin of a Sauber, where they are so far and away the worst team on the grid now. They've kind of locked into that almost Williams or that we saw back in the Russell Latifi days or Haas where they were right at the back. But to beat your teammate Bottas, that's why he's getting a 6 from me.
The fans gave Zhou a 5. Valtteri Bottas started 19th, finished 16th.
I've gone for a 4 out of 10. Yeah, disappointing from Bottas, really. I just think he should be doing better and absolutely trouncing Zhou in the races when he's not. So that's why he's getting a 4 from me.
Poor Tommy popping off. Bottas slander, here we go. I've gone for a 5 out of 10 for Valtteri Bottas. Yes, he has been beaten by Zhou, hence the 1 grade lower, but was also managing some issues apparently. So I'm not going to be too horrendous on him. And if he'd finished 20 seconds behind, then perhaps it's a different story. But yeah, Bottas with his experience. Bottas was blimmin' Lewis Hamilton's teammate not that long ago and sometimes stuck it on pole. What's going on here? But then he also said, was it this press conference or the last one where he said, I think I'm driving better than I did at Mercedes? I'm like, are you sure about that?
That is Formula One though, isn't it, really?
Yeah, you'll never know. Maybe Zhou is actually the greatest of all time.
No, we do know, and these drive ratings are always correct, Matthew.
Sorry. Bottas 5, and the fans also gave Bottas a 5. Yuki Tsunoda started 8th, finished 12th. Oh gosh, oh dearie me. Yep, it's going to be a 7 out of 10 for Yuki Tsunoda. A bit of a what could have been, what should have been, as it always is with RB, to be honest with you. Of course, there was that very strange decision to leave Ricciardo ahead for a few laps, a second and a half, 2 seconds ahead of Tsunoda, who was on fresh softs on very worn medium tyres. And then eventually, when he got up behind Daniel Ricciardo, and it was within a second, they let him through. Daniel Ricciardo was never in with a shot of a point, ever, during that Grand Prix. What on earth are VCARB doing? And we will copy and paste that when we speak about Daniel Ricciardo as well shortly. Yuki finished, 2 odd seconds behind Colapinto? That might have been quite easily the difference. Could he have gone on a little surge and beaten Perez right at the end had his tyres not been slightly cooked from following Daniel Ricciardo? Who knows?
I've gone for an 8 out of 10. I think his qualifying was exceptional, and VCARB gonna VCARB when it comes to strategy. It feels like that team, more than any other team on the grid, just have these rogue races. I think I've joked about it before that, they've won one random race at Monza where they got lucky with strategy, and then they just sometimes they just go into race weekends and go, right, so everyone's going hard medium. Let's go medium soft. Why not? YOLO. I think Yuki did everything from his side to get points, and he should have got points. But VCARB just mess up the races for their drivers so hard sometimes, and this is a perfect example of one of them. I don't know what they were thinking, really.
You've got to question, though, Tsunoda and Ricciardo, neither of them touched the hard tyre. You have to throw into the mix, did they decide that the hard tyre was actually horrendous on their car from earlier on in the weekend and they were forced into this kind of strategy? So it is strange that they've decided to go with that. Perhaps, as I say, their car doesn't react too well on the hards, or maybe they are just completely incompetent. We won't know. But yes, Yuki Tsunoda got a 7 from the fans. Daniel Ricciardo started 16th, finished 18th.
I've gone for a 5 out of 10, taking the emotion out of it and actually looking at his results. It was a poor qualifying, went for a very unusual strategy again, which I am going to slate VCARB for again, that, what are they doing going soft, medium, soft? That is just crazy. Even before the fastest lap point, it's almost like laughable, like they were wanting to make sure he was constantly at the back. It was bizarre. And then to not do team orders and let him get out of the way to help his teammate was very odd indeed. But at least he got the fastest lap point at the end, which is something to be proud of and enjoy in what looks like his final race, which is such a
Is that how far he's fallen?
way.
Enjoy a non-fastest lap point. Just.
But it's still fastest lap, isn't it? It's in the record book, so
fastest ever lap actually as well in Singapore.
Yeah,
apparently.
well there you go. Not only should VCARB be just, what are you doing? with strategy. I think they need to look at themselves as how they've treated Daniel Ricciardo in this whole situation as well, because it's absolutely pathetic and ridiculous. I'm of the opinion, and maybe in the minority, that I think it's the right decision to let Liam Lawson go, like, get in that car now, but let the guy have his moment and not have to kind of half-assed kind of make these things where he can't say he's actually retiring, but we all know he's retiring and stuff. It's just pathetic, really. It's actually ridiculous.
I've gone for a 5 out of 10 as well for Daniel Ricciardo. A very poor strategy from VCARB. And what the hell are they doing? They look at Singapore and go, yeah, that's a 2-stop. Yeah, no, we don't want track position around here. We want fast tyres. Just bizarre. To start on the soft tyres, fine. If that's the decision you want to make, to try and make up a few positions at the beginning, cool. You pit on lap 10. You're going on an undercut of nobody. Like, you're literally undercutting nobody because nobody else is pit for another 10, 15 laps because they're all doing a one-stop.
Just to add to that, I don't feel like anyone has ever started at the back of the grid and gone, yep, soft tyre, that's what we need to start the race on. It's the hard tyre is what you start when you're at the back, so you go.
Well,
really
I guess
long.
if you don't have a car to actually do anything, maybe they're going for, well, those 10 laps, they were like, let's get track position. After that, no, we'll do a 2-stop. We'll overtake everybody with our really fast 2-stop. VCARB have messed up Daniel Ricciardo over and over and over again with strategy. It's just not good enough, really. They are the worst team on the grid by quite some margin when it comes to strategy. And I think they go under the radar slightly by just how bad they have been sometimes. As for how he's been treated, I think Daniel Ricciardo deserved a hell of a lot more than what he got. Now, I don't know if it's because of contracts or perhaps even from Daniel Ricciardo's side of the garage or like his team of being like, well, we've been binned off quite unfairly here. Let's make it as questionable and murky water as possible to have people talk about this and how he's been treated. I don't know. Look, this is just speculation. But this man is an 8-time Grand Prix winner, I believe it is. He is one of the most loved personalities in the paddock. He's a Drive to Survive sensation. How are you going, we're gonna assess over the... No, you're not. You clearly have made your decision here. Why? From Red Bull, the most savage team in history with drivers and cutting them off. Why is it now like, maybe not, but you are gone, but we're not going to say anything. We're not going to give you...
Every interview was like, thank you for everything you've done and all this kind of stuff. And
it's
you
bizarre,
don't say that to someone that's not going. He's stayed... I'm sure you've seen the stuff on Twitter where he stayed in the paddock for like hours saying goodbye to everyone. He's gone. He's clearly gone, but he's not gone officially.
But
like,
why?
what the hell? Yeah.
Fine, if it's like legal this or that and you can't announce that he's gone until... Can we just use our brain cells for a second? Our common sense, our human decency when it comes to this kind of thing. Formula One is a brutal sport, don't get me wrong. But why are we making it more brutal than it needs to be by doing stuff like this? Fine, he's lost his seat. But can we at least be like, okay, this is his last Grand Prix. And for his fans, right? The people that absolutely love and adore Daniel Ricciardo, I would want to know, going into a Grand Prix weekend, concretely, that it is his last one, so I can enjoy every single lap he turns until the end of the weekend. But instead, it's like, oh, well, he might be still in the Red Bull pool. I don't care. That pool you're going to drown in because you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, exactly. What, like, the Red Bull pool, is that like him going back to a Red Bull and being their like marketing clown third driver? No, it's just disrespectful.
Utterly bizarre. But let's leave it on a good note because the fans gave him a 10 out of 10. Franco Colapinto started 12th, finished 11th. I am giving Franco Colapinto a 9 out of 10. He was brilliant once again. There were no DNFs, there were no reliability issues or anything like that in front of him. That was a purely deserved 11th, which, you know, on another day might have scored him a point or two. Just brilliant on lap 1. That's what set him up for the rest of the race. We've already spoken about it in the main race podcast, but I'll mention it again. Albon not being happy with the dive bomb. Perhaps that was just heat of the moment. You know, Albon has caught him in his mirrors. What the hell is he doing? Fine. You know, we can't judge. We're not Formula One drivers. We're not sat in the seat. Whatever. But this is about Franco and his performance, and he was in the fight for a point the entire Grand Prix. Perez was commending him every lap that was done, really. So it's a shame that he just got beaten by Perez in the end, but to finish 1.5 seconds behind him is quite the achievement.
Yep, I've also gone for a 9 for Franco Colapinto. His move at the start was sensational. I don't get the hate. Maybe Formula One drivers are getting a bit too boring and they're used to everyone finishing the races and stuff. Because I saw Carlos as well kind of making a point. He came out in the press conference and said, absolutely insane move. He made the corner, came up. It wasn't like an absolutely audacious move where like all it, his front two wheels are locked up and he's pushing people off. Completely legitimately made the corner. He's nowhere near any of crashing into any car. And if they are the ones that have chosen to bail on the runoff, then that's up to them. But it was an amazing move. And
Isn't this what Formula One's about as well, right?
Yeah, exactly. I don't understand this whole gentlemanly
he overtook me.
Oh, how dare a driver come in and make a amazing 4-car pass at turn 1. You're not allowed to do that. This is Formula One. We have to be boring.
It's 2 by 2. Nobody overtakes anybody.
It annoys me. If he keeps doing dive bombs like that, I am becoming a Colapinto stan. I kind of already am, to be honest. He's awesome.
No, you can't start standing everyone that comes in. Kimi Antonelli, let me have Franco.
Just,
you know what I'm saying?
Just give me a dive bomb and I'm sold, basically.
Certainly, the fans gave Franco an 8 out of 10. Alex Albon started 11th, did not finish.
I've gone for a 5 out of 10 for Alex Albon. It's not his fault that he's retired. It was a car issue. But of course, his start, he was never going to get points anyway with dropping and losing 4 places. So that is on him. You put your car there and choose to bail on that runoff. That is just the nature of a Formula One start. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. And you've put yourself on the outside when drivers are diving down the inside. So you're going to lose places. And that's why I've gone for a 5 out of 10.
I've also gone for a 5 out of 10 for Alex Albon. The qualifying was decent, but nothing special if you compare to what Colapinto managed after his 3rd race. But he was still in the hunt. But as soon as he dropped down to P15, he may as well have just pulled in and retired anyway, because there's no chance of overtaking around Singapore. It's very down the middle. Then, of course, DNFing. So, it's a 5 from me. The fans gave him a 5 as well. Esteban Ocon started 15th, finished 13th. I have gone for a 6 out of 10 for Esteban Ocon. Wow. Alpine are finished. They are so slow. And you just think, maybe they've got 2 great drivers. Maybe they'll just be able to. No, they can't. No, they're 35 seconds behind Tsunoda in 12th. Okay, right. He gained positions at the start, did Ocon, up to 13th by lap 6. That put him, I guess, in a great position to be able to finish 13th, which gives you absolutely nothing after all your hard work. But it's a reasonable performance, but very hard to actually. It's actually as if there was Formula A, B, and C in this race, because you had Ocon, Stroll, Zhou, Bottas, Gasly, and Ricciardo in a world of their own. Then you had Formula B ahead of them, and then you had Formula A.
I'm going to go for a 7 for Esteban Ocon, actually. I think the Alpine is finished, like you say, in a role reversal of last week. He's kind of really trounced Gasly this weekend with his performances. And 13th, how Alpine have fallen, but 13th is a good result for them now.
The fans gave Ocon a 5. Pierre Gasly started 18th, finished 17th.
I've gone for a 4, which is a shame after how well he did in Baku, and we're praising him for putting that Alpine ahead of where it should be. But this weekend really did not go well for him. Not a great quali, and just never really recovered in the race. Not good at all for Gasly. So 1 to forget.
I've gone for a 5 out of 10 for Gasly. He, of course, didn't have a great qualifying. Don't get me wrong, but he did have a slow stop in the race, and then he had to try and get past the mothership of the 2 Stake F1 team cars working together with DRS in a similar dustbin. So I do feel for him. He still finished about 14 seconds behind Ocon, considering all of that. So I'm not going to be too harsh on him. As you say, a race to forget for Gasly. The fans gave Gasly a 5 as well. Lance Stroll started 17th, finished 14th. Oh dear. Oh dear, oh dear. I'm going to give Lance Stroll a 4 out of 10. I was going to give him a 3, but I'm going to be slightly more generous because he only finished 40 seconds behind his teammate. Just a very just rubbish performance, really. Nothing good to really say about Lance Stroll's. I mean, the qualifying just ruined his whole weekend, really, as it's similar to Monaco. Of course, he gained 3 positions in the end, but I mean, he was absolutely nowhere.
Yes, I've gone for a 4 out of 10 for Lance Stroll as well. Take about 20 of the previous 2 years' races and just paste what I said about that into this into this section, because, my God, poor qualifying, which is just very much Lance Stroll things, and nowhere near his teammate in a race, but that is very Fernando Alonso things. The reason it's not, I couldn't give him a 3 is because, I can't give him as bad a grade as Magnussen, who's actually hit the wall and given himself a puncture.
Okay, the fans gave Lance Stroll a 3. Fernando Alonso started 7th, finished 8th.
I've gone for a 9 out of 10. I was tempted by a 10, but
flirting with the idea.
I was flirting with the idea. So difficult when he's got a useless teammate. We don't know how good it is. I do think a lot of it is Fernando Alonso outperforming the car and being able to get. I don't think there's a better driver in history that can get stuff out of a mediocre car. And that's what Alonso's done, and he's kind of back to doing this again, but he's just maximising everything he's got with what he's got available. So hurry up, Adrian Newey, and give my goat a good car.
A great car, the best car, maybe. I have gone for a 9 out of 10 for Fernando Alonso. I was also flirting with a 10, but I feel as though had he beaten Sainz, who was 4.5 seconds ahead, maybe that's where Alonso 10s are born. But it was very close. It was a great result for him. Top of Formula B, back to the sort of Alonso we expect to see, getting the most out of a car that doesn't belong to be there. Use Lance Stroll as an example of that, but very similarly to Albon and his previous teammates, we don't actually really know how amazing Fernando currently is in his current form until we get a different teammate, which is never going to happen. The fans gave him an 8. Oscar Piastri started 5th, finished 3rd. This one's a difficult one. This one I am struggling. But I'm going to give Oscar Piastri a 7 out of 10. I was deliberating a 6, but I'm going to go for a 7 because he had a very good car this weekend and just wasn't able to unlock the potential. Lando Norris, I know he won by 21 seconds. He could have easily won by 30 plus, I think. It's still a good weekend. He scored a podium. That's where the 7 comes in for me. But qualifying, that's where he lost certainly a little bit and ruined his chances of P2, which I think was absolutely on if he had track position. But an off-colour weekend from Oscar, it has to be said, from the start all the way through. He just didn't look on Lando's pace.
I've gone for an 8 out of 10. He definitely should have been second. Can't disagree with that. You look at what Lando did in that car. He should have been there. Qualifying let him down, which is where it's made it more difficult for him. But at the end of the day, he's still, if he should have been finishing second, he's only finished 1 place behind where he should. So that's why.
Factoring in 42 seconds behind him.
I mean,
I'm just covering off the comments.
No, I will cover off the comments as well. I think 6 is insane to even consider for Oscar Piastri. So that's where we disagree.
Okay, fine.
Because you have to look at the result. Don't get me wrong. I'm not here going to say he's had a good weekend compared to Lando. But you have to look at the result that he's actually managed. And I think 6 is for, finishing like a 5th or a 6th in that car.
And I'm going to say that I think previous Perez to Verstappen comparisons have looked at
but when Perez was 3rd and got a podium, I feel like we were giving him 8s and 9s. So
interesting. Well, look at us.
Counter.
Look at us. But I didn't give him a 6 again.
Finally, this is what people finally want from drive ratings. But
I'm sure you will have all let us know in the comments
yeah,
where you sit with Oscar Piastri's grade. But just to clarify, I didn't go for a 6. I went for a 7. So well done, Oscar. A good performance. The fans gave Oscar an 8. Lando Norris started 1st, finished 1st.
It is a 10. Of course it is.
He locked up, Tommy.
But he brushed the wall twice.
He locked up, bro.
Yeah, it's ridiculous to even consider going for anything other than a 10 for Lando Norris, in my opinion. You can't give him a 9 because he's brushed the wall twice. Like, that's absolutely insane. Cannot downgrade him. Like, he's absolutely trounced his teammate, and it's a big win for him. So yeah, very impressive stuff. Just missed out on fastest lap, but that was, of course, we know the reasons for that, but he had so much pace. It was absolutely insane the way that even when people were kind of pitting and on fresh tyres going for fastest lap, he'd just pop another fastest lap back in.
I've also gone for a 10 out of 10. Anyone that thinks anything other than that is quite frankly cooked. I think that you genuinely need to appreciate what these drivers are going through during the Grand Prix, especially at Singapore. To think that Lando deserves anything other than the 10 is quite frankly ridiculous. He drove away, he extracted everything out of the car, he destroyed his teammate, he destroyed Max Verstappen. They went over the radio, I think we won a 5-second gap. Yeah, no worries, do it in two laps. Like, the guy was on it this weekend, gets pole, leads every lap, I think he did, yeah?
Yep, he did.
He led every lap, and just it was a brilliant performance. Yeah, there was a close call for sure, and oh my god, squeaky bum time, absolutely. But also, he didn't hit the wall, and he continued on, and therefore it's a 10 out of 10. Had he hit the wall and broken his suspension, oh my god, that's an alternate reality where we.
But this is what I said in the main podcast. Like, he didn't.
Exactly.
You know, it's
some people are like, he's not championship worthy because he's made a mistake and nearly hit the wall. Sorry?
Just to defend him here, and I'm, defending him as a, the Max fan here that wants Max to win the title. He's getting a lot of stick, and some of it is fair. I think for, like, in my opinion, he should even be leading the championship now with the card that he's had. There's this whole, like, Twitter meme of calling Lando Norris if, like, having that whole if thing of, like, if he did this, nor if, and all that kind of stuff. It's like, you can't flip it round and now say if he'd hit the wall and turn it into a negative to, like, when he's done something good and say if he hit the wall, because he didn't. So, like, you can't have it both ways.
Tommy cooking Twitter. We love to see it. So yes, it's a 10 from both of us, and the fans gave him a 10 as well. Carlos Sainz started 10th, finished 7th. I'm going to give Carlos Sainz... it's not been a great weekend for Ferrari in general. It's a 6 out of 10 for Carlos Sainz. Of course, he binned it in qualifying, which definitely downgrades him 1 for me personally. It was a big mistake to make. It was literally on his out lap, starting his flying lap, hits the bump, goes into the wall. And after that, it was a difficult race for him. He went a bit long. I think that he then struggled on the hards in the final stint, finished over half a minute behind Charles. I am feeling like Ferrari missed a trick this weekend and could have been much more in the mix than they were, hence the slightly harsh grade, I would say. So Carlos, gets a 6.
I have also gone for a 6 for Carlos Sainz. It all came undone for him in qualifying. It's a massive error to make, and I completely agree that Ferrari could have got a big haul of points. Their car did look very good around here. So when you qualify 9th and 10th, it's going to be very difficult at a place like Singapore where you can't pass. So, yeah, not a good weekend for Sainz.
Not a good weekend at all. The fans gave Carlos a 7. Charles Leclerc started 9th, finished 5th.
I've gone for a 7 out of 10. Had that stint where he came back in the race. For me, he should have been P2 this weekend. And that all comes down to qualifying and it going wrong for him. You look at that enormous gap between Lando and Verstappen, or even Piastri, and think that Charles should be getting a podium there, which is why it's only a 7. It's a completely different story if he starts the race in P2 or even P3. He's on the podium, no doubt.
I've gone for a 7 as well for Charles Leclerc. I was deliberating maybe an 8 because the qualifying... Well, he was very quick to blame some operational issue within Ferrari of the front tyre temperatures being cold on his final lap in Q3, hence why he wasn't able to extract anywhere near the same pace as he usually would. But at the same time, we have to just grade it on as well, it's so difficult, but the performance, and it was a 5th place, started 9th. It was a good drive to get up to 5th. I think that was maybe the max. Getting stuck behind Hülkenberg and Alonso for half the race was painful to watch for most people. So yeah, it's a weekend I'm feeling a little bit like he could have definitely finished 2nd. The fans gave Charles an 8. George Russell started 4th, finished 4th. I have gone for an 8 out of 10 for George Russell. I think it was a decent weekend. The Mercedes didn't look that great, as we constantly talk about, but then it sometimes looked great, and most times didn't look great. He then had understeer and oversteer during the race, which was quite a funny team radio. That was not perfectly balanced. You don't want understeer and oversteer at different times to beat your teammate, go on the better strategy. We'll talk about Hamilton's decision to go on those softs shortly, but I think it was a decent weekend for George, for sure, to finish 4th.
I've also gone for an 8. Very, very solid weekend from George. He needed a good points haul after kind of what's been going on recently with the number of points he's been scoring in races. So surprised that he got beaten by Hamilton in qualifying, because that's normally his strong point, but I don't think he could have. Yeah, very close. But I don't think he could have done anything more in the race to be P4. The Mercedes wasn't there.
The fans gave George an 8 as well. Lewis Hamilton started 3rd, finished 6th.
I've gone for a 7 out of 10. The strategy was a very odd one. He qualified well, but strange strategy. And the reason he's lower than George, I do think you have to sort of... It is an odd tyre strategy, but you have to sort of put some blame in Hamilton's court because he's agreed to it. You know, I think give this race to a Lando Norris, a Charles Leclerc, an Oscar Piastri or whatever, and we'd be saying, oh, well, a more experienced driver would basically be like, well, absolutely not. Why am I on softs? And like take it into their own hands and do something about it. So that's why for me it's a 7. I'm really surprised that he went for the soft tyre. It's surprising. Like, don't really know what he had to gain, and it's a very short run down to turn 1. Was he really going to go around the outside of Verstappen and Norris in turn 1? I don't think so.
I've gone for a 6 out of 10 for Lewis Hamilton. I think that we don't really need to even discuss why he's had a lower grade than George Russell. He's finished 23 seconds behind him, had no pace at the end of the race, and I completely agree that he needs to take some of the blame for the soft tyre decision. That didn't come to fruition. Then he didn't have much pace on the softs, and then had to pit early, then wasn't very happy with the team with that and the hards. But you think that was kind of the strategy that they went for. So why is it now such a big issue that this is what's panned out? Like, you chose the softs, so obviously that's going to happen. The fans gave him a 7. Sergio Perez started 13th, finished 10th. Oh, dearie, dearie, dearie me. Sergio Perez, you are going to get a 4. All undone in qualifying, as we've said for a few other drivers, then just gets stuck. And it's very difficult. That's why I'm not giving him a 3 or a 2, because he's got stuck. He scored a point. That's all he scored was a point, and he finished an absolute mile behind Verstappen. So yeah, I'm going to go for a 4. Maybe I'm too lenient, I don't know, but that's what I've gone for.
I've gone for a 4 out of 10 as well for Sergio Perez. Shocking qualifying to be down in 13th, and at a track like Singapore, you're always going to struggle. Stuck behind other cars. The Red Bull is nowhere near the advantage it used to be, where he could just breeze through the field. So he was stuck, and it was all about damage limitation. He couldn't really do much from there. So a point, a big ouch.
The fans also gave Perez a 4. Max Verstappen started 2nd, finished 2nd.
I've gone for a 10 out of 10 for Max Verstappen. You can call me a fanboy all you like, but I think it was an absolutely sensational drive. I didn't think at the start of the season that I'd be giving Max a 10 out of 10 for a P2 finish, but I think, well, I don't think it's even where the Red Bull should be. I think they're the 3rd or 4th fastest car. There's clearly a lot of problems with that car. There was a lot of talk before this race of them kind of pinpointing the problems, and the fact that Perez has been struggling massively and they didn't take what Perez was saying seriously because Max was still winning, and now Max has fallen off. They've gone, yes, this car is not where it needs to be. So the fact that Max has finished 2nd at his bogey track, I think is such a good drive.
I am in such two minds right now as to which grade I go for Max. Are we cloaked? Are we masked by the fact that we didn't expect them to be very good and Max just did a really good weekend? Oh God, what is it gonna be? Matt, what is it? It's a 9. It's a 9 for Max Verstappen. Wow. I'm sorry. Yeah, just because we expected them to be horrendous, Max said the balance was a lot better. Obviously, they worked very hard. They did great, but can I realistically give him a 10 for finishing?
Yes.
21 seconds. Well, no, you can. Well done. Congratulations. Oh, I love Max, but I'm not. I'm going to be more level-headed. A 9 is not a terrible weekend. A 9 is just not perfect, I don't think. But it was still a really good performance from Max. It's close to a 10, don't get me wrong, but I'm not going to be the fanboy on this podcast for that, and I'm going to go with a 9. The fans also gave Max a 9 out of 10. So who is our P1? For me, it's Lando Norris. Hands down, there is no other driver that... Well, there's drivers that come close, don't get me wrong. There are some 9s out there, but Lando was the performance of the entire weekend. He really threw down the gauntlet for this championship fight, and he needed to.
I'm going to go for Max, and I don't care what stick I get for it. And I can't believe people are giving him a 9 because it's the damage limitation was insane. He's extracted everything. He's beaten his teammate by well over a minute, and he didn't put a foot wrong like Lando did. So there you go.
You can't say that. You cannot say that.
But
like
I can.
Lando
I
did.
can.
That's wild.
But I can because Max drove the perfect race in my opinion. Whereas
how do you know?
Lando
Did you watch on board with him the whole time? Did you see any mistakes from him?
What else do you think I do after the race?
That's crazy. That's wild. Okay, well I'm glad I've triggered you with this 9. Let us know. I'm sure you have in the comments where you sit. Is it a 9 or a 10 for Max Verstappen? And I can't wait for someone to be cooked. But it's all good. It's all in the name of comments, isn't it? And engagement. So keep going. We love this season. Hey, Tommy, we do care about what. No,
I do care about the ratings, but I don't like. It's my opinion. I'm allowed it.
I know I teed up Tommy being like this man of not caring, but wow, I was not expecting this. Have you enjoyed it though? Because what a driver ratings this has been. Hey,
I like a bit of disagreement. I think it's what this series needs, to be honest.
Okay, all right, fine. Max Verstappen was washed this weekend. Right, no, it's fine. It's all good. It's all good.
I love it.
Well, look, we love this driver racing series, and maybe just having a bit more fun with it is where we need to go with this. We just throw some 1 out of 10s for just to see what people say.
Just to annoy people.
Yeah, it'd be great. But no, thank you as always. Leave a like if you like this series and you want it to continue, because we love doing it. Lots, don't we, Tommy?
Absolutely. And
we'll see you very soon. Hope you enjoy the summer break. Of course, summer break, winter break, whatever this is, autumnal break.
Second break.
We are going to be doing our US tour. So if you haven't got a ticket for that and you want to come and see us during this break, then go and get your tickets. And also the UK live tour tickets are available still as well, as we've just launched those. And we'll see you very soon for another podcast. Bye!
Bye.
Max Verstappen 9 out of 10. Goodbye.